let's get into what it is that we want to talk about today. So, in case you haven't noticed or haven't seen this story, this is the New York Post reporting. This is huge. Officially now, according to the New York Post, Chinese elites have paid $31 million or more to Hunter and the Bidens. So if you're wondering why Joe Biden is so soft on his Chinese friends, it's because his family has been getting payoffs forever. You want to talk about corruption? You want to talk about somebody or some group that's just devious and evil to the core? The Bidens would fit that category. 31 million bucks. And according to, again, the Post, there is a laundry list of elites who have dug deep into their pockets to give away a bunch of money. Che Feng, 20 million bucks. $20 million to the Bidens. A bunch of these other names, half of them I can't pronounce, and I'm not even going to try. But one guy donated or gave them $5 million. Another guy, almost $250,000. Henry Zhao, $5 million. Patrick Ho, over $1 million. These are all CEOs and CFOs of different companies. And the Bidens had their hand, like little hands out. Give me mine. Give me my money. Give me my money. And they got it. And these Chinese companies got favors because of it. Now, y'all spent 4 years, y'all on the progressive side of the aisle, you spent 4 years trying desperately to tie Trump into something nefarious with Russia. Half of it was, more than half of it was manufactured. Hillary Clinton paid people to create a story. And nothing was ever found. Nothing concrete was ever found. Here we are, an actual news outlet reporting that the Biden family has received money from China. And I guarantee you, I already looked this morning, I guarantee you the left-leaning media sites will not mention it one time. That is an actual travesty. And the fact that during the election, the media outlets hid the story about Hunter Biden and the laptop and the hookers and the underage girls and all the cocaine and the crack and all of that. They hid it. They hid it on purpose. Again, borderline criminal to me. When you manipulate the thoughts of folks instead of delivering the facts when you're supposed to be a news organization. I mean, if you're CNN, just come out and say it. You're a wing, you're an arm of the Democrat Party. Same goes for MSNBC. Same goes for Facebook and Twitter. Sorry to say, guys, you're in bed with these guys. And the question is why? What's the reasoning behind it? Why do you find it necessary to champion slime balls and dirtbags? Hunter Biden's a dirtbag. But for whatever reason, you've decided that group of people align with your values and your morals, which is really not saying a lot about you. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, if you align yourself with cop killers and people who are politicians who are taking bribes and doing terrible, terrible things, I assume then you're okay with all that stuff. And again, the question is why? Why would you be that way? Like, what power is gleaned, if you will, from fueling the fire of corruption? I mean, does Mark Zuckerberg need any more money? I mean, he's reached a level of power where his desire to disseminate information, or however he sees it as the way he wants to see it, whatever he wants to throw out there, he can't. But why wouldn't you want to put the truth out there? I know that's rhetorical because it's all about power. So that's topic one. There's 3 topics I want to hit in the first 20 minutes if I have time. Topic 2, and somewhere along the line today I'll play some audio of this, but apparently Biden, this administration, has taken it upon themselves, in some cases, in most cases, in the middle of the night, they're loading planes up with illegal immigrants, and they're dropping them off in different places around the country. I think the latest, well, there's a video of it. The latest video shows a bunch of illegals getting into a plane and being dumped. I think the one that was on, there's a couple of videos, but one that was on was somewhere in New York, upstate New York. There was another one, I think it was in Connecticut somewhere, they dropped some off. We know that this has been happening since the beginning of this administration, right? We've had people who have called me and said, well, I was X, Y, and Z. I was sitting in my car in a black van in the middle of the night, dropped off a whole bunch of people, got on a bus, they drove away. So a black van drove up, 10 people who looked of, let's say, Central American descent, got from the van to the bus, and off they go. Where do they go? And who's paying for any of that stuff? And here in this video, you can see them dropping off or loading up these illegals to fly them to undisclosed locations. How much money is being spent on that? And essentially what you're telling me is that you're taking people who have come to this country, they broke the law to come to the country. They got in, right? And they're here. So instead of being punished, or at the very least, sent back to where they were from, none of that's happening. Instead, they're here and they're being rewarded with a free trip to upstate New York. And I'm sure they're not being dropped off on the corner without cash in their pocket, right? Think about this for a second. You're working your ass off every single day, again, to put food on the table for your family, right? You're busting your butt. You're working every single day, 10 hours a day, working on Saturday, taking a second job, whatever it is, because, of course, the cost of living now is ridiculous. And the United States government is taking folks, and we've seen it. It's on video. I'm not making it up. They've taken folks who have broken into the country, like somebody has broken into your house, and they're rewarding them with transportation to a better location. And again, I'm sure they're not being dropped off on the corner and said, hey, good luck. I'm sure they're being set up in this location with housing, possibly a job, certainly money. And we're talking certainly thousands, maybe tens of thousands of instances of this since this president has taken over. How much money are we spending on this? How much taxpayer dollars are going to fund this invasion? Sorry to say, it's an invasion. They're facilitating an invasion. This is a treasonous act. We're getting to that area where we need to talk about treason for Joe Biden and this administration. I mean, we're well past that. So here we are on January 28th, a year into the president who was supposed to unify us, whose 47 years of service to this country, supposedly, while a politician, corrupt service, now we're finding out through different reports. He's, been on the take for as long as he's probably been in office. And now he's ascended to the presidency of the United States, where outside influences certainly are controlling what he's doing. But, he does have to sign. I'm sure he's got to sign off on most of this stuff, right? So this insidious idea of this administration in all different aspects, whether it's, again, this exploding crime rate, which we'll get to in a second, the immigration, the debauchery in Afghanistan, your huge inflation, the terrible handling of COVID, it's almost it's treasonous what he's done. It's almost as if, and you have to now start to think, they're not stupid. These people that are in power, certainly to get in power to that level, you're not an idiot. So to govern like this, you now have to think to yourself, okay, if you're smart enough to get there, you're smart enough to figure out how to actually correctly govern, even if your viewpoints are completely different than mine. I now have to think what you're doing is sedition. It's treasonous. It's maybe cause for a revolution. Maybe. We're getting close to that line. We're getting close to that line. And finally, I don't want to not mention this because I do have a lot of guests, and once we get into it, sometimes we can't go back. But 6 law enforcement officers shot across the U.S. in the last 48 hours as violence continues to surge. It's completely unacceptable. You've got people now laying in wait. Cops are responding to calls. They're being ambushed. They're getting shot. They're getting killed. 6 here in the last 48 hours. And, one challenger, actually AOC's challenger, and I completely agree with this. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's challenger, I'm trying to find his name, Desi Cuellar, I guess is his name. Desi Cuellar says death penalty for cop killers. I'm on board with that, 100%. Death penalty for cop killers, death penalty for someone charged and convicted of murder of a juvenile, anybody under the age of 18. I'm for the death penalty anyway, but certainly a fast track death penalty for those folks. So that's how we begin. Busy show today for you. Mike DeMoro will be the first one to join me, so we'll take a turn, talk a little bit about the world of sports. Mike France, congressional candidate, 705. Mitchell Lettis, Bob Stefanowski, Rick Coster, and then Lori. Laura's join us in the 9 o'clock hour. Dogs are coming to the studio.